Little Gloria Vanderbilt, as she was endearingly known to the world, was born in 1924. When she was still little, she found herself at the center of one of the most sensational custody battles in U.S. history. As a child, she stuttered and could barely put her tangled feelings into words, but she grew up and became a well-adjusted woman who found herself through acting, writing, drawing, painting, and designing. Her hard work and perseverance led to the creation of a world-famous line of products, all of which bore her highly recognizable family name. She was the great-great-great-granddaughter of shipping magnate Cornelius Vanderbilt, and was famously thrown into the spotlight as a child after her mother and aunt fought a very public custody battle over her. Keep watching to learn Gloria's heartbreaking and at times inspirational life story. Gloria Vanderbilt's confusing beginnings. Gloria Laura Vanderbilt was born February 20th, 1924 in New York City. She came from a long line of wealthy and prestigious people. She was a direct descendant of shipping baron Cornelius Vanderbilt. On her mom's side of the family, her relatives were mostly diplomats and judges. Her father, Reginald Vanderbilt, was a railroad heir, horse breeder, chauvinist, and alcoholic gambler. He died when she was only 17 months old. Her mother, Gloria Morgan Vanderbilt, who was known for her delicate beauty, took her daughter to go live in Europe after her husband passed. Gloria's mother loved the cities and pristine beaches of Europe and moved around quite often to take it all in. They took up residence for years in places like Paris, Monte Carlo, Biarritz, and London. She loved to socialize with many wealthy men. One of her notable affairs was with a married businessman, German prince, and member of the Mountbatten family, to whom she became engaged. Gloria spent a great deal of time with her maternal grandmother, Laura Kilpatrick Morgan, as well as a nurse named Emma Keislich, whom she affectionately called Dodo. Morgan made it her mission to make sure her granddaughter would not grow up in Germany and devised a plan to have her go live in America with her aunt, Gertrude Vanderbilt Whitney. At 10, Gloria was unfortunate enough to find herself in the middle of an ugly custody battle between her mother and her aunt. The battle captivated the imaginations of the American public, who read about the proceedings in the daily newspapers. Custody was ultimately awarded to Vanderbilt's aunt, but she was still permitted to see her mother on the weekends, as well as the entire month of July every year. She spent the next 7 years living on the eastern seaboard with her aunt. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to Factsverse if you haven't already. And stick around to learn about the darkest chapter in Gloria Vanderbilt's storied life. Gloria married many times. Vanderbilt's aunt, despite being the winner of the custody case, was distant and set in her old-fashioned ways. She insisted her niece be constantly chaperoned. In June of 1941, when Gloria was 17, she took an extended trip to California to visit her mother in Beverly Hills. While she was there, she described feeling as if she were a bird finally released from its cage. Life with her aunt had become suffocating and repressive. Finally, she could live her life as she pleased. While she was there, she dated famous stars of film and cinema, as well as wealthy and famous eccentrics, including Howard Hughes. Dreading the prospect of returning to her life back east with her stuffy aunt, and not wanting to remain with her mother either, Vanderbilt made the decision to marry Pasquale DeCicco, a 32-year-old Hollywood booking agent. For the next several years, she was emotionally, psychologically, and physically abused by her husband. 3 years after tying the knot, the couple separated and filed for divorce. Not long after the divorce was finalized, Vanderbilt married a conductor named Leopold Stokowski, a man with a reputation for being a playboy with a wandering eye. He had once been involved with actress Greta Garbo. Leopold had been married twice before he walked down the aisle with Vanderbilt. He and Gloria lived a quiet life in a tiny apartment for the first couple years of their marriage. They had 2 sons, Stanislaus and Christopher. After 5 years of marriage, Vanderbilt began to see a psychoanalyst who instructed her to express herself more. That's when she got the idea to rent a studio where she wrote poetry and painted. She took up acting as well. Eventually, she and her husband got divorced after 10 years of marriage. They then fought a custody battle of their own over their 2 sons. Vanderbilt won. She next married Sidney Lumet, who was a successful director. They stayed together for the next 7 years, but when Gloria ended things with him, he attempted to kill himself. Vanderbilt's 4th marriage was to Wyatt Cooper, a writer from Mississippi. Cooper and Vanderbilt had 2 sons together, Carter and Anderson, the latter of whom went on to become a famed reporter for CNN. That union lasted for 4 years and ended with Cooper's death in 1978. Gloria experienced much success in her life. Vanderbilt's career as a commercial designer began in 1971 when she met Don Hall of the Hallmark Company at one of her art galleries. He was impressed by a drawing she had done and decided to use her work to promote a line of paper products. Later, her paintings were likewise used for a collection of scarves. Gloria then started designing a line of blouses and jeans with profitable results. In 1980 alone, she earned a cool $10 million from her work. Her name was used to sell all sorts of things like perfume, bedsheets, liquor, and even leather goods. Vanderbilt rarely made public appearances, though, as she was exceedingly shy. In the 80s, Vanderbilt started publishing her various memoirs. She wrote her first book, Once Upon a Time, as a form of therapy to resolve her inner turmoil from childhood. Her next book, Black Knight, White Knight, detailed her marriages to DeCicco and Stokowski. Both volumes sold fairly well and were applauded by critics. A Mother's Worst Nightmare. In July of 1988, Vanderbilt experienced something no mother should ever have to deal with. Her 23-year-old son, Carter Cooper, threw himself off the terrace of her 14th-floor penthouse to his death as she was forced to watch in disbelief. There was nothing she could have done that would have saved him. She was convinced her son was neither depressed nor suicidal when he died. Rather, she believed he was immensely disoriented after taking asthma medication. At first, she was incapable of coming to terms with his death, but then she joined a suicide support group which she credited as having saved her life. Being from the kind of rich family she was born into, it wasn't socially acceptable to cry or grieve in front of others. Her family didn't communicate, they merely bottled everything up inside and let it fester. It took Gloria 3 years to finally feel like she would actually survive her immense grief. In 1996, she published another memoir titled A Mother's Story, which dealt primarily with her son's death. She remained very close to her youngest son, Anderson, and was ecstatic to have 2 granddaughters, Abra and Aurora Stokowski. In April 2016, Vanderbilt co-authored a book with her son, Anderson Cooper, The Rainbow Comes and Goes, A Mother and Son on Life, Love, and Loss. The volume was described by its publisher as, quote, a touching and intimate correspondence between Anderson and his mother, offering timeless wisdom and a revealing glimpse into their lives. Vanderbilt died of stomach cancer at her home in Manhattan on June 17, 2019, at the age of 95. She was buried next to her son Carter and her late husband Wyatt in the Cooper plot in the Vanderbilt Mausoleum in Moravian Cemetery on Staten Island, New York. After her passing, Vanderbilt left her beloved son Anderson Cooper almost her entire estate, which was estimated to be worth at least $1.5 million. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think Gloria Vanderbilt lived up to the prestige of the Vanderbilt name? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.